tell me a little bit about your school?
Oh,
What is special about your school?
Yes, it's very special. Our school, St. Michael's, is a K-7 single-string school, and it is an independent school. It's part of the Catholic Independent Schools of the Vancouver Archdiocese, and we are about 235 students, so relatively small. We have 8 classroom teachers. We do also have itinerant teachers. We have a music specialist, PE specialist, an IT person, and French. And we've been around for over 55 years.
Wow,
So,
that's more than my university.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it's a wonderful group of students and very committed parents who participate regularly in the school, and we see that with the LiD as well projects. They're quite involved, so it's a great community.
What gave you the courage to implement LiD in your whole school? Because you started with 2 classrooms, and now from September you're going to implement it whole school.
I think the courage was that we're at a point in time with the changeover and the sort of mind shift in pedagogy and approaches to learning. I think that was the impetus. I think there's a lot of change for teachers. Some may feel more than others, and I think this was the way that you could present a change that sort of mirrors the redesigned curriculum, and that gave me the courage to sort of say, hey, we're going to do this, and guess what? I think we should do it school-wide.
What made the implementation of this project, Learning in Depth, possible in your school, St. Michael's?
Well, we started off just piloting between the grades 3 and 6 classes, but we wanted to go further. We wanted to involve the university and involve you, and the way that we were able to do that is through the Innovation Partnership Grant. So the ministry offered some funds to schools who applied for this grant, this innovation grant. So I thought I would apply. And the topic or the study was implementing Learning in Depth K-7, and we were fortunately accepted. So getting that grant was a huge help, because I don't know how far we could have gotten, because teachers need to be in service. They need professional development around it. I understand that you could probably bring Learning in Depth and just do it, but we wanted to even have a research bend to it, right? And we wanted to include that piece. And so without that Innovation Partnership Grant, I don't think we could have gone as far as we hope to go. I don't think so.
We see here that your topic is birds.
Yes.
What about birds? How did you feel when you got this topic?
It was actually one of the top topics that I wanted. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think they're really interesting, and I live right in front of a forest, so I get my share of birds right behind my house.
So how did you react when you put this topic?
I went like this.
So, and what happened next? How did you start?
Well, I started brainstorming some things that I could do, and then I asked my teacher where I could find a big poster paper, and she brought me one. And I started by making little letters out of popsicle sticks that spells birds.
Oh, that spells birds. Yeah. That's beautiful.
And then
What was one of your first questions about birds? What were you wondering about?
How do they fly?
And you found out?
Yeah.
Can you tell me again?
So since they have hollow bones, it's easier for them to lift off the ground. So they take a bit of a running start, kind of like a plane. And then they swoop up, and then they start flapping. Yeah. And some really big birds of prey, they don't even need to flap, they just soar.
Really?
Yeah.
So the wind helps them?
Yeah.
What else did you find out? Something fascinating about birds?
Well, as I said before, I found out that when birds are really, really young, they leave the nest once they've learned how to fly.
And they are by themselves.
Yep.
What about eggs?
Eggs. Inside of the eggs, there are little sacs that keep the baby birds comfortable, and they keep them from getting too cold from the eggshell.
How do they hatch? I always wondered. How do they have the power to hatch from?
They grow inside of the eggs, and once they've grown too big to fit inside of the eggs, they break through the sac, and then they grow just a little bit more. And once they're too big for the shell, they break through the shell.
They just break through the shell.
Yeah.
Okay.
They usually go feet first and push with their feet.
Really? Not with their beak?
Nope.
Wow.
I actually watched a video of a bird hatching.
You did? At home?
No, actually at school.
At school you found? What about your family at home? Are they interested in your topic?
Yeah.
Yes? How come? Do they help you a little bit? Do they ask questions?
Well, my dad actually suggested for me to, because I bike to school every morning through forest trails, so he suggested that I bring along my little camera in my pocket, and if I see an interesting thing, an interesting bird, I take a picture.
And did you do
And
that?
you see lots of herons.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we've seen
So I did
yesterday
do that.
as well. We went to Stanley Park and we saw many of them. Why are there so many at this time of the year, you think?
You know what? I'm not actually sure.
That's a good research question.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? What would you like to research this summer about birds? Or you just stop now for the summer?
Would
you like to continue it all through the summer?
I might. I don't know. I probably will research that. What we were just talking about. I probably will.
And take pictures, you said?
Yeah.
Maybe
Take
more
pictures. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Anything else you want to add about your topic?
Well, that is really cool.
That is cool. Thank you so much. Thank you and good luck with your research. So you were saying, Zachary, that this is your topic.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the day when you picked that topic?
The day we picked the topic, we picked it out of a hat randomly.
What kind of hat was that?
Like a top hat.
A top hat.
So I was pretty happy with my topic because ships in general, they're pretty broad, different types of ships. So that will keep me going for a couple of years. I will have lots of material. So
Really?
I was happy about that.
So what happened next? You got your topic. What did you do next?
Every Wednesday, we would either go into the library or go into the computer room. So we would research about our topic, all getting prepared for the showcases.
So what was your first research question? Do you remember the first thing you wanted to find out about?
I was looking towards history of the ship to see when the first ships were made.
When was? Do you remember what you found out?
A really long time ago. Here, the farthest it dates back, a sail ship is around 6,000 BC.
6,000
Yeah.
BC.
A long time ago.
That's very long ago. Wow. And then from history, what did you start to research?
I started to research parts of the ship because recently I was watching a movie with pirates, that type of thing. And I noticed that there was a lot of terms being used that I didn't really know about, so I wanted to look into those.
And tell me about some of those parts.
The sail of the ship, probably well known, but not many know what it actually does.
What does it do?
It catches the wind, so it directs the ship in the desired direction. So the wheel and different devices are used to turn the sail, so the ship goes in different directions.
And what is the tiller?
The tiller is one of the things that moves the sail. It's connected to the sail, so when you move the tiller, the sail moves.
Wow. Will you have a boat yourself?
I don't know, maybe. Strikes my interest. I haven't really been out on the ocean much.
Not yet. Did you swim in the ocean?
Yeah.
What's the spar?
the spar of the ship is also connected to the sail. There's a lot of things. It's kind of like the mast. It's what holds up the sail.
And you were telling me about the room. I think it was the muster station.
Oh, the muster station.
I learned from you about it.
It's where the crew members gather people in an emergency so they can send them away on the lifeboats.
So the crew knows if there is a problem to go there.
The first time they spot it, they'll check if the damage is lethal to the ship, and if that is going to happen, then they'll bring all the people to the muster station.
That's fascinating. So what's next this summer? Do you want to continue research it, or you just stop?
It's really interesting. I'm thinking about it in the history. I didn't really crack into it much, so I'll look more into that.
Into the history of ships.
Yeah.
Cannot wait to talk to you in September. Thank you so much, my dear. What makes you wonder about apes and monkeys? Something you don't know yet.
I don't know how their brain works. Something that I want to know, and why the size is different.
Why the size of...
And also...
different than human brains?
And if the size affects anything inside of the brain. Like if, because of the side of the brain, do they lose color or sense or smell or something like that?
That's fascinating. Is there a difference how you
between
learn?
lids and...
LiD and other subject matter?
Yeah, the extremely big difference that probably everyone will say is that lids is not guided by teachers.
No,
it's just like the teachers will not say to you, okay, we're going to write a paragraph, we're going to do a test. They are not going to say any of that to you.
And how can you still learn?
You learn because you still need to have stuff to do, because there's the 2 showcases, the one that we just had, and then a winter showcase, a smaller one.
Quite fascinated for her. I'm fascinated for myself and for her. She has taken the project on very seriously, and we've discovered a new passion within Ailey as she's discovered this.
How do you think this passion developed? Because it's not assessed, they don't get grades,
I think it's the gradual exploration of the topic, and the fact that there were no severe deadlines, so that she was given some time to think and then explore, and then think and explore, I think really aided to her success.
To go more in depth. And do you help her at home?
I ask her what her plan is, and she's then able to bring it to the surface. I helped her assemble the project because she was a little bit she was wanting to present something quite beautiful, which she did. So it was nice to.
Yeah, because it's not an individual project.
No,
so family help is needed.
Yes,
it becomes your family topic.
Yes, it really did. And we enjoyed learning about Jane Goodall and her, exploration of monkeys and apes. Yeah, what we discovered also was family members and our neighbours knew that she was exploring this topic on a long-term basis, so people were giving her material. So it was very nice.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So what are your questions about this project in general? What do you wonder about?
I'm curious because it seemed that this would be, now I know it's long-term, I'm curious for the process of how it will unfold over the course of the next few years, because it felt like this was a grand finale and she was going to be presented. So from this point I'm curious, like what will she do next? Because I think this will be new, so we'll see.
Nice to see you again. We had a conversation before, but please repeat for me, what is about this topic? What's your topic?
The Arctic.
The Arctic. So how did it start? How did you get this topic?
In September, we all went outside and we picked a little card out of a bucket, and that's what it talked.
Just a random card?
Yeah.
And it was written?
Yeah.
The Arctic. How did you feel in that moment?
I wanted a different topic because I didn't know what this was or anything.
Of course! So in the beginning you didn't know what it was, so you went to research. What is this topic? What can I learn about it? And suddenly it opened up to you?
Yes.
So what did you do next? What did you research? Where did you focus on?
I focused on the animals.
Why?
Because I didn't
really know if I wanted to do snow or water. So then I thought how many animals are in the Arctic. So then I started doing some research on that.
And what's your favorite animal?
The narwhal.
What's amazing about?
It's not too many people know about it, and it's
Looks like a whale
a
or
whale with like a horn.
horn. And you compared it to a unicorn?
Yeah.
The Arctic unicorn?
Yes.
A real unicorn, yes. And what else? It's amazing about this topic.
The polar bear has special fur that keeps them warm when they're swimming, and they mostly use their back legs to swim.
I can imagine that. What about the who's
The reindeer, they mostly eat fish.
Fish?
Yes.
Really? They don't have a lot of grass.
No.
No.
So, but these are the special reindeer because they mostly eat fish, which I thought they would eat carrots, but there's no carrots in the Arctic, so
No.
they eat fish.
So you discover something new about every little bit you research. That's beautiful. What would you say to one of the kindergarten children who's just started? What advice would you give?
To just follow your mind and try to create what you're thinking about.
So Cassidy, your topic, if we don't see that there, what would we guess? Years or time? But no, your topic is
Measurement of time.
measurement of time. So tell me from the beginning, how did it happen that you got this topic?
So I picked the topic out of a hat, not knowing what I was gonna get at all.
How did you feel about that?
At first, I didn't really like it. I thought I wanted something more exciting, but then I kind of learned that there's so many things I could do with it. Like once I started thinking about, because at first it's like, oh, it's time. There's not much you can do. But then I started thinking about how many different ways you can measure time, and then different things I could do, and like the possibilities I could do for all of them. And then so I kind of just started getting into it more.
Okay, so time is something you discovered about measurement of time and you really didn't have a clue before.
I think
Did we measure always the same?
yeah, that's the thing. Like I realized that it was like how many ways you can do it, and also one thing I also was when my brainstorming options was how people came to measure time and how people learned that they could do this to measure time. How they found out how much time was a second, or just time in general. How different ways they found out how to do that. And
Why do we need to measure time?
I feel like it's a good way of just keeping track of things. Because like before there was probably time like no one knew what was happening. The one way they probably did was like looking at the sky. But just there are many different ways that people before didn't know like when to do something, and now it's very important because like when to go to work, when to go to school, when things finish, when things start. It's like I think it's very interesting why we need it, and then how important it is. It's very important. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I feel like most people don't really, they kind of take time for granted as if it's always been there. But it was one thing I also looked into a little bit was it was very little. Like I think one time we were working on our LiDs was like how people learned about time and how they started measuring time, and there was many different ways, of course, with the sun, like when it goes down, telling the time with the sun. There's a trick I can't do it, but there's a trick you can do with like telling what time it is with like the sun's angle and location.
This is something you could do during the summer.
Yeah.
Just read time. Don't take a phone or a watch with you, and just read time.
It's something I want to learn because I don't know how. I do. My cousin knows how to do it, but it's this thing where you look at the sun at a certain angle. It's like tell what time it is with your hands. But
and you have to know what season it is as well.
Yeah, what season it is. Yeah.
That's so amazing. You can find out with your friends during the summer.
Yeah.
And then I come back in September and you teach me.
Yes.
Deal?
Yeah, deal.
Okay. And you had a game here. How did children react to your game?
I think one of the best ways I was when I was brainstorming what I was going to do for my like the spring show, summer showcase. One of the things I noticed that from the last showcase was that, and even from this one, that a lot of the kids, when they were looking at some people's project that didn't do games, it was kind of like, oh, I'm just going to look at it and I'm going to go. But I feel like it was, I wanted the kids to get more interactive and actually like learn something and not just like scan it over a poster. So I felt doing a game was the best way so that they could learn and do something fun, because kids love fun, and it was, I think that the kids really liked it.
So we just closed the showcase, LiD showcase. Many children showing their learning. How do you feel about what happened today?
I think that the kids were excited. The parents seemed to be happy. The other children in the school that hadn't participated in the program were also excited and listening and wanting to go from one table to the next because everything was so different and interesting. So I think that overall it went well.
I think it was a wonderful opportunity for students to show their learning.
And they easily talked, even to us strangers. They just came and explained about it. So what do you think is the difference? I asked this from children just before, between learning for LiD, for the LiD topic, and learning in all the other subject matters you're teaching. Do you see a difference in their ways of learning or ways of being with knowledge?
I think that it's the element of choice that's in there, that the children have a topic, but where they go with it, the tangent that they follow is their own, and it's what interests them. Sometimes it was difficult to get them to come up with a way to go, but once we kind of gave ideas and talked about it and brainstormed, then they came up with these wonderful things and went off and came up with really interesting ways that I wouldn't have thought of, which was, and I think that's the key. And so it was about them. It wasn't about us as the teacher. It wasn't about the curriculum.
And that's a shift in the relationship as well.
And I also think the removal of assessment helped. So they didn't have the pressure of like, am I going to get a good grade, or what do you expect from me? I think with a number of students that helped them able to explore
the
more
stress
and
of maybe
and be better risk takers, because they knew that they could take those risks and not have to be like get a mark at the end.
Any advices you two have? Now you have a school year of experience. So imagine in front of your beginner teacher who's never done LiD. What advice would you give her or him?
Trust the students.
Trust the students.
Let them take the leadership and the ownership of it, and they'll surprise you with what they can do.
So what about today? Where are we now?
I think we're in a pretty good place, actually. I'm really excited. I think we had a successful year with LiD. I had two great teachers who were willing to take it on and to pilot it. I thought it was a great way to get teachers on board, so to speak, with the redesigned curriculum and looking at personalizing learning for students, right? And when I went through and researched and found Dr. Egan's work on learning in depth, I thought this is it. It's looking at topics in depth, right? As opposed to the quantity of topics, right? Which is what the redesigned curriculum is all about, is how do you reduce the learning outcomes so that teachers spend more time teaching students how to learn, right?
So what particularly made you take this on?
I think the biggest thing was buzzwords that were out there. And those buzzwords were personalized learning, project-based learning, genius hour. And so these words kept appearing when I was doing research on the redesigned curriculum or content-based learning competencies, big ideas. These terms kept coming up. And when I looked a little deeper, then I came across learning in depth. And I liked the idea about it. I liked the fact that Dr. Egan had written a book about it. I liked that there was a LiD kit, which was sort of a survival kit for teachers to give them. I liked all of that. And so I remember presenting it to the staff, and I presented the LiD kit and the whole notion of learning in depth. And a staff member in particular asked me, well, why this and not Genius Hour or Makerspace, which we don't have much space for, but why learning in depth? And I said, well, there's a kit. Well, as soon as I said that, everyone went, oh, there's a kit, right? That sort of, they were on board that way, right? Knowing that there was something that was a little bit more structured in their mind, even though it's not, right? So bringing it in and then having them see it in action, the other teachers being able to visit the 2 classrooms, also participating in looking at the showcase and visiting the students present and talking to them, gave them a little bit, okay, I guess we can do this. And our schedule lends itself really well. On Wednesday afternoons, we have the early dismissal. Then we increased the time on our Wednesday afternoons to an extra half an hour. We still have early dismissal, but it's an extra half hour. So it worked out really well because we didn't schedule anything in that half an hour. So we've been able to easily incorporate LiD without disrupting or changing the schedule. So those are sort of easy ways that teachers don't feel overwhelmed, right? Oh no, the whole schedule's going to change. So it all just sort of fell into place, so to speak. Okay. When we're talking about the LiD celebration coming up, I can see teachers taking ownership and enjoying the process and getting excited about it. And so where we're at now is they understand a little bit better about, or visually, they're able to visualize what it would look like. And I think that's important for teachers, for them to visualize it.
Talking about teachers, do you see any change happening in the 2 teachers who started LiD in September?
I do.
Did you see something?
I do. I see their excitement. I see their excitement in seeing the learning process in their students, and them being able to take a back seat to that, letting the children learn and letting them learn at their own pace. Like not everything has to look the same. If you saw the showcase, you could see that you had a variety of learners in that gym. You had students who may have had a more polished look to their project, and then you had a child who had sort of a rougher look, but their excitement and energy.
You could see the uniqueness
absolutely
of each child.
And I think that's a big change, because in the past, I don't think you would have had that. I think you would have had teachers wanting to see it in advance, right? What it would look like in advance, and have more of their hand into it so that they all looked a certain way, maybe, right?
Interesting.
But I saw the children just be their own learners, and I think that was a shift. Yeah, I think another shift is their understanding of more inquiry-based, being able to steer and direct and coach, facilitate learning in students a little bit more. I see that sort of change.
What advice would you give other principals in regards to introducing this program?
I think the advice I would give is not to be afraid to try, right? And I think many of our administrators are doing just that already. They're taking some risks, what you would call risks, and trying things that are new, and are excited about it. The advice I would give is that there's always support out there for you. That working together as a team is a great way to share ideas, share you're not on your own, right? And I love the whole notion behind learning in depth. To learn about a topic so deeply across a span of a number of years really empowers the children about their own learning. And so my advice would be, take the chance. Don't be afraid.
So today we had the LiD showcase at St. Michael's School. It was fascinating. We interviewed children, parents, we interviewed the teachers, and the results were amazing. Children were passionate about their topics. They were able to answer all kinds of questions, ask further questions, notice the difference between learning for LiD and learning for the other subject matters, and analyze their own process of learning. So all in all, we are very, very impressed with the school and with the passion and ways of being of the teachers and community. And LiD is a big success after one school year. So we're going on next year, full school. Everybody will have their own topics, and teachers are trained by us, and we'll see what's next.